welcome to Cali, Colombia. As we wait for our students to join, we are just going to do a couple trivia questions before the official start of our event. So I'm going to pass it off to my friend Braden to introduce himself and do some trivia.
Braden, I'm from Canada, is on the trivia question slides below. There will be a question on the first slide we show, and then the next one will show the answer. The answers will be highlighted red with an arrow next. All right. Okay, so the first question is, what biome is Colombia in? There's a little picture of where Colombia is on a map, and when you have your answer, put it in the chat. So is it A, grassland, B, tundra, C, rainforest, or D, desert?
Okay, and I would like to say as well, I know that we have quite a few schools that are joining us on YouTube. So if you would like to type your answers in the chat on YouTube, we can have our friend Sarah, who is running all of our tech, pass those answers along to us. So please participate in the YouTube chat as well. I will say, before I got here, I don't think I could find Colombia on a map. So thank you for putting that in there. Okay, what do we think, Braden, as we're waiting for answers to come in? What would be your guess to what you think the biome is here?
You know, before I came here, I wouldn't really be sure. There's a lot of like different temperatures here. It's hard to tell, but you know, I think I know what it is. I think I have it in my head. I'm gonna let you guys guess.
Okay, and I see we've got a rainforest in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, should we give them the answer?
Yeah, I think let's do it. Okay. The answer is C, rainforest. And a fun fact is, did you know that the Amazon rainforest is more than half the size of the US?
Wow, that's huge.
It is.
Awesome. Okay, let's do the next one.
Okay, the next question is, what are the national animals of Canada and Colombia? A, beaver and condor. B, condor and caribou. C, caribou and beaver. Or D, none of the above.
Okay, it's kind of a tricky one. I know we do have some Canadians joining us, so they might know the Canadian animal.
Yeah.
Although, do we know what the official animal of Colombia is? So what we got coming in here?
I see an A. I see a lot of A's.
A lot of beaver and condor guesses. Have you seen a condor since you've been here?
I have not. I don't think so.
I've seen some small birds, but I don't know if I've seen a condor yet.
I see a lot of B's and A's.
Okay, and just a reminder again to our students on YouTube, feel free to take your answers. I see our students at Green Woodlands are saying, yeah, B and A.
Yeah.
All right, should we let them know what this one is?
Sure, let's do it. The answer is A, beaver and condor. I saw a lot of people get that, so I think most people got it right. And another fun fact, the world's largest beaver dam is so big, you can see it from space in satellite images.
Wow, and do you know where that beaver dam is?
I don't.
It's in Canada. Yeah, the world's largest beaver dam is just a few hours north of where we live.
That's cool.
All right, last one.
How many trees are cut down globally each year? A, 5 billion, B, 15 billion, C, 50 billion, or D, 500 million?
All of those are scary large numbers.
Yes.
I wish it was zero.
Yes.
All right, we'll give them a minute to get their answers in the chat here.
A.
B and A, yeah.
D.
I don't know what I'm thinking this one is. I know they cut down a lot of trees. A lot of our students have been talking about deforestation in the Amazon. So I think it might be a big one. Let's see what our answer is.
It is B, 15 billion. And I didn't even know that before I looked it up. And last fun fact, trees can communicate with each other. Some trees communicate with each other through releasing chemical signals using fungi around the trees.
That's awesome. Did you know that you knew I wanted that fun fact? Well, thank you very much, Braden. I want to thank you for making that trivia for everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it. I am going to go ahead and invite our next here to get some our welcome stuff going. So here in Cali, Colombia, thank you so much everyone for joining us. Now, I will give you a little warning. The internet here is not amazing. So if you are having issues hearing and seeing us, let us know in the chat and we'll do the best that we can. Our guest here, I know, is also having a little bit of internet issues. So we're all gonna do our best to stick together as long as we possibly can while we're here. Oh, and I also want to say welcome to our tons of schools that are joining us live on YouTube. I know we have a lot of our Indian schools that are joining us over there. So hello, if you wanted to say hello and a little greeting in the chat, we would love to pass those over. Now, before we begin, I would like to do a land acknowledgement for CGE. So the Center for Global Education is located in Amiskwaciwâskahikan. This is a place that's colonially known as Edmonton, Alberta, and it's within Treaty 6 territory. So traditionally, this is the land of the Dene, Cree, Métis, and the Nakota Sioux. But today, of course, we are joining you from the lands of Colombia. So we're really excited to look deeper into this connection that Indigenous peoples in both of these places have with the things that live there. A couple reminders before we get going. If you have questions, the best way to get those answers is by typing your questions into the chat. So if you have questions for any of our presenters, type them in the YouTube chat, type them in the Zoom chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can. And some of you may have an activity sheet with you. So if you have a piece of paper with you, we would love to see your art. So my challenge for you during this event is to draw a picture of your favorite organism that lives in your home biome. So it could be a plant, it could be an animal, an insect, whatever. I would love to see those pictures. And if we have time at the end of our event, we might be able to share some of them live on camera. Now, if you don't have this printout, that's okay. You can use any blank sheet of paper. All right. Enough from me. I am going to welcome our special guest speaker from the Canadian Wildlife Federation. So Mike, I hope that our audio is all working okay over there now. I am going to pass the microphone over to you to introduce yourself.
Okay, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect, great. So yeah, I'm Mike Bingley. I'm the Director of Education for the Canadian Wildlife Federation. I've been working in conservation for about 30 years now. Mostly on the education side of things. So Canadian Wildlife Federation, we're Canada's largest conservation organization. We do programming from coast to coast to coast. Our education program last year, we spent a lot of time working with students like you, really looking across the world and making sure that that you've got the opportunity to make a change for nature. As I say, we're Canada's largest conservation organization, and we really work with millions and millions of Canadians every year, trying to make sure that everybody's got a say in nature. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. And but frankly, enough from the old guy here. I'll pass it back to the people you'd really like to hear from, which are some of the students that CGE has brought here to Colombia. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you so much. We did get kicked out and back in, so please let me know if you can still hear us. I think we're okay. I'm going to pass the microphone next over to our student Brock to introduce himself and let you guys know a little bit about COP.
Hello, I am Brock, and I'm 17, and I go to a school called Okay.
So we're just going to shut our camera off, so hopefully you guys can still hear Brock's presentation. I think we should be able to do it that way. Go ahead.
Okay. As I said, I'm Brock, I'm 17, and I currently attend a school called École Secondaire Lacombe Composite High School, located in Lacombe, Alberta, Canada. And my favorite animal is the swift fox, because not only is it fast, but it's also important for our grasslands. The UN Biodiversity Conference, also called COP16, is a meeting where people from many different countries come together to talk about how to protect nature. They discuss ways to save animals, plants, and the places they live, like forests, oceans, and rivers. Imagine all the animals and plants in the world working together to keep the earth healthy. The people at COP16 want to make sure we don't lose any of these important creatures or habitats, so they make plans. It's like a team meeting for the whole planet to keep it full and clean with life. Why are we here? Well, we're here because we are super excited to be a part of this program called Education Nature Nexus, where students like us from over 15 different countries are teaming up to protect nature. Can you believe it? There are thousands of students just like you, all sharing their ideas about how to save animals, plants, and the environment in their countries. Together, we created something really important called the United for Nature Child Global Biodiversity Declaration. It's like a guide with 6 super important ideas about how to make the world better for nature. Here's what we're focusing on. 1, making governments help more with nature. 2, adding cool nature lessons in schools. 3, listening to indigenous peoples who know a lot about taking care of the earth. 4, getting everyone in the community involved. 5, finding creative ways to get money to protect nature. And 6, teaching more people to care about nature through campaigns. And guess what? We have taken this awesome document, the COP16. There we'll be showing it to leaders, government officials, and many other important people to inspire real change for nature. Let's go, Team Nature.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brock. I hope you guys learned a little bit about COP16 and why we're here. Now, to talk a little bit more about that UN biodiversity side, I'm going to pass the microphone back over to our friend Mike to tell you a little bit about what the biodiversity framework is. So, Mike, if you are still here, I see you're muted. We did think maybe we might have to pop him in at the end of the event. Okay. Okay, I think maybe he might be having some technical difficulties. So I think instead of passing to Mike, we're gonna go to our next speaker, Jasmine, who is joining us from Canada to tell you, to tell you a little bit about the biodiversity that she has in her home.
Hi everyone,
So,
my
I'm
name
back.
is Jasmine. Oh, you can go.
So the global biodiversity framework in really broad terms is it's a framework that it's a big agreement that 168 countries from around the world signed in Montreal back in 2022. And really it's many people have heard of the Paris Agreement. It's the equivalent of that, but for biodiversity. So it's the equivalent of that for nature. It's the biggest nature agreement ever signed in the world. And it's got all kinds of different targets. So it's things like making sure we protect 30% of the world's land by 2030. It's got targets in it around making sure that people understand this, making sure that we mainstream the idea that nature is important. So it's a massive agreement. It's taking a huge amount of negotiation. And one of the things that's going on at COP right now is spending time figuring out all the pieces of it that how to activate that. How are we going to make sure that that we actually can reach those targets?
Hey, awesome. Thank you so much. I know our students on the ground here are working a lot on reading these frameworks and presenting them to world leaders. So if you students are interested in learning more, I highly suggest you look it up because it's super interesting. Okay, we are gonna let, Jasmine, I'll let you introduce yourself and then I'm gonna turn our camera off so that we come across nice and clear for your presentation.
Awesome. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Jasmine. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And Toronto is in the boreal forest biome. So that means we have a lot of cool animals and plants that live with us together in this wonderful city. So one of the most common animals we have in Toronto is raccoons. So as Torontonians, we have a very complicated relationship with raccoons because, they're everywhere and they're really cute, as you can see on the screen, but they're also very annoying because they carry rabies and they eat garbage. My dad, for example, is very, very frustrated at our local raccoons because they keep eating plants from our garden, which he worked really, really hard on. But as much as we want to see raccoons as the enemies, us humans are actually the real problem. Because, for example, if you do not close your garbage bins properly, it's very easy for raccoons to get into the trash and become sick. So while raccoons can be annoying, we really need to think about how we can live in harmony with them instead. And that is one of the things that we're really trying to focus on in COP16. Because, solving climate change is definitely not easy. There are a lot of things that we need to think about, and people need to negotiate to come up with a solution that everyone can implement. But, as youths, you can still try to implement change. Save the raccoons in your city. So remember to close your garbage bins fully and don't feed wildlife, or also make the poor raccoons really sick and really sad. So animals aside, one plant that I really love from Toronto is the white birch, which you can also see on the slideshow. They surround our gorgeous lakes and trails and turn into the most beautiful colors in the fall. So there's orange, yellow, red, so many colors. And interestingly, people can also use birch bark as paper, and they write cool messages on them, like "I love nature" or "Johnny loves Dora." And furthermore, many Indigenous people also use birch bark for making things such as canoes or embroidery backings. Isn't that just so amazing and so cool? Well, in COP16, we're really trying to have as many different opinions as possible. This means that as Canadians, the Indigenous perspective is really especially important because they have been protecting and living with nature for so long. So whenever you think about your community or the Canadian community, make sure to think about how the Indigenous people and how we can them and for their culture.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jasmine. I appreciate it. And maybe I'm gonna befriend a raccoon after this now that I've heard this. All right, I am gonna welcome in our next speaker. So we are lucky enough to have a local student here from Cali, Colombia, to share a little bit about the biodiversity here where COP is happening. So Samuel, come on in to our tiny little presentation space.
So hi everyone. Thank you, Rebecca. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I am Samuel Rivera Calle. I am 17 years old, and I'm the local guide. I'm from here. I especially wanted to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity because Colombia is very famous for being the second country with the most variety of biodiversity. And since I've always been living in this environment, it's something that I actually didn't realize, something that is part of my daily life. And this type of events has making me realize all of this biodiversity, these magical places. I am from Cali. I am from the southwest of Colombia. It's a city on the southwest, and it's pretty. It's very curious that the different things that are typical here are very different from Bogota, for example, that is the capital. It's another city. For me, it's very curious that, for example, you can see the typical food. Yesterday, they asked me about what is the typical breakfast of Cali, and I couldn't even answer because it wouldn't be fair to just mention things that you could eat here in a breakfast. And even though they are different from a typical breakfast in other regions in Colombia. So that just is kind of like a fact that demonstrates the huge biodiversity of Colombia. I am very grateful for making this event here. I'm very grateful that this is being realized here in Colombia. And I also wanted to mention that here in Cali, very close of Cali, we have a national park called Farallones. In that park, there are lots of different species, more than 1,000 species of birds that could be observed. It is very interesting. And when you go there, actually, if you have quite a bit of luck, you could probably see the Condor de los Andes. I just heard that the national animal you were just mentioning, the condor. Maybe if you have a little bit of luck, you could actually observe him. So that's it. That's part of my region. And thank you everyone for being here. For me, it's a pleasure to show my city. I love Cali. I love Colombia. And thank you for being here in Cali, Rebecca.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll say, at least for myself, I also really love Cali. I have been having the best time since I've been here. It's been awesome. Okay, up next, we have two more speakers that are going to share their biodiversity highlights with you. So up next, we have Haan, who is joining us from New Brunswick in Canada, to talk a little bit about the coastal perspective for you.
Hello, my name is Haan. I'm from New Brunswick, which is on the east coast of Canada. So we're right by the Atlantic Ocean. And because of our unique geographic location, we've got a lot of tons and cool biodiversity in our province. So New Brunswick has over 30,000 species, not including bacteria and viruses, which would obviously make the number go way up. But New Brunswick also is especially famous for its aquatic life and its seafood, like the lobster that is waving to you on screen. So recently, we've had more problems though with ocean acidification. So ocean acidification is a natural process. Well, it shouldn't be natural, but it's a process that's happening right now because the ocean is the largest carbon sink in the world. So basically what that means is that the ocean absorbs the most carbon out of any other thing on this planet, including trees. And because of this process, the ocean gets more acidic over time, which affects all of the aquatic life that we have. So this would especially affect like animals that have or build shells, like lobsters and crabs. But it also affects like fish species because it makes it hurts their bodies as well. New Brunswick really relies on our biodiversity, not just for our environment, but also for our livelihoods, because people live off of the ocean and it gives us more job opportunities. And because of that, we need to come up with more solutions, and we need to take more action more urgently for this problem, because without it, a lot of our natural biodiversity in our oceans can disappear. And if you want to see the big lobster go away one day, it's very important that we all take action as one planet.
Wonderful. I mean, I'll say I think lobsters are very cute, but I really like to eat them too.
Yes, so if you want to eat more lobsters, it's very important that you save them first.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Haan. Okay, we have one last biodiversity highlight that we would like to share with you all today. So finally, I am going to call in my friend Sean, who is going to talk to us a little bit about living in the prairies of Canada.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name is Sean Bernard. I am originally from Turtle Island, also known as Canada. So my community, my Indigenous community, I'm an Indigenous student from Water and Lake First Nation, which is located on Treaty 6 territory in northwest of Saskatchewan. So talking a little bit about Saskatchewan, Canada. Saskatchewan, Canada is a really cool place filled with all kinds of plants and animals. So let's explore some of the fun parts of its nature. So first, the prairies. Imagine wide open fields with tall grasses and colorful flowers. In these prairies, you can find animals like buffalo. You might also hear the cheer of the eagles that soar over the lands. We also have the forests. If you head north, you'll find dark green forests with tall trees like spruce and pine. These forests are home to creatures like moose, which are huge and have big antlers, and black bears who love to eat berries. And we call that the boreal forest. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a special plant for me, which is the sweetgrass. So within my Indigenous community, the sweetgrass is not only just a resource or a physical property. When we pick the sweetgrass, we use it as a sacred spiritual healing property. And not only that, do we just use the physical aspect of it, we also take the knowledge from the land. So we learn as we go with it. So the sweetgrass, as you look at the braid at the bottom of my slide here, the sweetgrass braid, you can see how it is going out, but always coming back in. And that represents the path that we're going on with biodiversity conservation. We might find bumps, but that's all right. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna get to our goal. In Saskatchewan, the skies are huge and full of colors. When the sun rises or sets, the sky is painted with orange, pink, and blue. It's like a giant painting. So the land of living skies is a special place where the sky and nature meet. And there's always something new and exciting to discover. Saskatchewan also has many lakes and rivers, which are great places for our biodiversity to thrive. So Saskatchewan is a wonderful place where nature is alive, with all sorts of amazing creatures and beautiful landscapes. However, due to our biodiversity being at risk, a lot of these things we just talk about, we need to speak up and take action now for that. Around my beautiful community, we are surrounded by trees, and due to wild forest fires, a lot of the lands we call home are at risk of being destroyed. You children are not only our future, you are our today. So I just want to leave as you guys create this conversation of what this means to you, of what biodiversity within your region is. Thank you.
Thank you, and what a beautiful message. I think that's so powerful. Thank you very much for sharing, Sean.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, now I'll turn my video off again. I'm getting a notification that I might lose you. We do have a couple of things that you know what, before we do the poll, I think we actually have a little bit of time to ask some of the students here a few questions about their time in Cali at COP16. So if you have a question for any student that's here today, I would love it if you could pop it in the YouTube or the Zoom chat, and we're gonna answer as many of them as we possibly can. So my very first question is for Braden. So I have a question for you, Braden. You've been in Colombia now for, I don't know, almost a week. What would you say has been your favorite part about being in Cali?
I think my favorite part about being in Cali and Colombia is meeting new people and going to COP and understanding how other people around the world are affected by the different biodiversity due to many different things. Me personally not speaking Spanish, that makes everything a bit harder.
Yeah.
But it's always really fun to meet new people.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, my second question is going to be for Jasmine. So Jasmine, my question for you is, if you have one message for all of the students that are joining us here today, what would it be?
I think first of all, whoever is joining, I believe that your school must have, some sort of climate education, or you want to learn more about nature. So I think the number one thing that you have to focus on is to find your passion, because as youths, we might fear that we don't have enough opportunities, or we might fear that we don't have enough resources to take action. But as long as we have the heart, and as long as we have the soul to be able to encourage yourself and others to take action, then you will be able to do it. For example, my passion is the intersection between environment and social justice. So that is why I'm here at COP today, talking to new people and talking about the environment with them and learning about how different perspectives affect biodiversity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, my next question is going to be for Sean. I see we have one in the chat, but I'll get to it in just 1 second. My next question is going to be for Sean. So Sean, my question for you is, what was it that happened in your life that made you want to join ENN and come to COP?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, biodiversity originally was always just a physical aspect to me. And I didn't really think much of it within my education system, but slowly I was connecting within my identity and the question of what is my identity? And I think that's something that we all ask ourselves. And truly, I believe our identity comes from the places that we are living in, the regions that we're from, which is the biodiversity that makes up our area. And that's what our identity comes from, right? And so with that, I started the spiritual aspect as well, that it's not just a physical idea. So for me, coming to ENN and joining ENN has been so important, not only for our physical land, but also for our mental health, our spiritual health, and our identity. And I believe us children now more than ever have that within ourselves to move forward. So ENN, thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. I appreciate it. And we are so happy to have you. You're wonderful to have in the program. Okay, my next question, we got to shuffle our seats here. My next question is going to be for Haitian. So we have a question here in the chat from Ariana. Yes. What has been the most unique organism or animal that you've seen that you would not have seen in your home biome since you've been here in Cali?
I believe that, the birds here especially are very unique. Even for common city birds, because I've never seen them where I come from, the most common birds you see in St. John are common pigeons, but even the pigeons here are like different color, different body shape, and just it's a lot more interesting because I also have seen quite a few birds of very vibrant colors, which we never get back at home. So, but since I haven't had too much time to really explore the nature here, I would say so far the birds have been the most interesting and unique organism I have seen in Cali.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And I'll say our student Samuel, who actually I'm going to ask. He had said that they have birds here. Okay, this is our last question before we get to our reminder. So my question for Samuel is, what is one aspect of Colombian culture that you are excited or interested to share with all of the students that have joined us?
Okay, so I would say like the attitude we have towards people, towards receiving people. We are pretty engaged to music, to dancing. You can just go out of here and you'll see people dancing salsa. Salsa is the typical dance from here from Cali. For example, at the east part of the country, there are other types of typical dances. And yeah, that's something I would love to highlight, because if you come to Colombia, you will never feel like people is not wanting to help you. People here is pretty beautiful in the way of receiving tourists and receiving people from new countries.
I'll say I have very much noticed
that.
Yeah,
we're very excited in people from that wants to know about us.
I get a good morning from everybody that I pass on the sidewalk.
Everyone most of the time says good morning, goodbye. It's part of the culture, it's part of the attitude we have since before.
Awesome. Okay, we actually do have one last question that I just noticed was in the chat. We have a question about sweetgrass. Oh. So can we get our sweetgrass expert back in here? So this student is asking, is sweetgrass like tobacco? Maybe if you could talk a little bit about the similarities or differences or what you use them for.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand that sweetgrass can be viewed as like tobacco, and I'll explain why. So sweetgrass, typically when we pick strands of it and we collect a bundle of them and we break them into a strand that you saw on that last slide. And we burn the tip of it as like the smoke of it, that's the property that we want from it. And so it is kind of like lighting tobacco, but we don't inhale it. We're actually using that smoke as a spiritual healing property. And so it's more like a cleansing for our spirits, and also as a thank you to the land around us. So it's more of like interconnecting us with it. So sweetgrass is just this grass that grows in Saskatchewan, other places in Canada. And so we pick it, and it's used for more cultural traditional ways of healing and walking into a space with a welcoming arms. So it's more of like that, yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so cool. Awesome. Okay, we have a couple of poll questions we would love to ask everyone now. So, Sarah, could I get you to launch our poll for us? Okay, I will launch the poll for us. So we have a poll that's going to be popping up on your screen any second now. Yeah, Rocky, you've been. And for the poll questions, we're going to ask you two things. So the first one is asking you if you've learned something new. The second one, would you make a change? So for the first question, Brock, if I said I learned something new at this event, would you say you agree, neutral, or disagree?
I'd have to say I'd agree.
Yeah? What's something new that you've learned?
I learned that you could write on birch bark.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever tried writing on birch bark?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's very fun. It has this chalky texture on the outside. It's very, very cool. Okay, awesome. And for question number 2, it says, I will make a change in my life to help biodiversity. Would you agree, neutral, or disagree?
Again, I'm going to have to say agree.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's your plan when you get home from COP?
Well, I have this ecological group at my school, and I'm going to continue volunteering there.
Okay, and we have a minute. Did you want to tell us maybe about your favorite project that you guys are working on at your school?
Probably my favorite project we have at my school is we have a greenhouse where since it's really cold in Canada, we have we built a tropical greenhouse. Students got together and we built it, and now we can grow banana trees, we can grow lemons, and we even have aquaponics system in our greenhouse.
Yeah, and there's fish that live in there. That's so cool. If anybody is in Alberta and would like to see the coolest, most ecological school you've ever seen, you need to visit Lacombe Secondary. It's a wonderful school. Thank you very much for answering my poll questions. I appreciate it. Now, our last couple reminders before I let everybody go. So on your screen, you'll see a poster for Art for Action. Now, I noticed that I think our schools today are not allowed to have their cameras on. If you are allowed to have your cameras on, it is your chance to show your art on screen. I know, especially in Canada, a lot of us maybe aren't allowed, but that's not the only way you can show your art. So if your students have created some art during this event or any other event and you would like change makers at COP to see that art, all you need to do is go to cgeducation.org and visit our Art for Action gallery. So we take all of the art that students around the world have been posting on that gallery, and we actually make a display at COP for world leaders to see these art pieces. So when the decision makers from your country are going to make a new law about biodiversity, they will see your beautiful art and it will help them make a decision that maybe will be a little bit better for biodiversity. And we have another upcoming event. So we had a great group of youth present at our event today, but we have a whole nother group of amazing students that are going to be joining us at the Climate COP in Azerbaijan in a few weeks. So if you would like to join another Live from COP event, hopefully with a little bit better internet and more video, we would love if you guys could head over to our website and sign up for that. I think most of us are on the newsletter by now if we're already here, but there is a QR code if you have not signed up for the newsletter yet. Now, the last thing, of course, is I would like to say a huge thank you. There's so many thank yous we have to give out. First of all, thank you to Cali for hosting us at COP16. Samuel, your country is beautiful and we're so happy to be here. I also want to say thank you to the Canadian Wildlife Federation. They have been an amazing partner in this. They are doing awesome work with sharing Canadian biodiversity and making it possible for Canadian students to come to COP. So this would not be possible without them. So Mike, thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your words during the event today. We really appreciate you making this possible. And my last thank you is to all of our wonderful students. Now, I didn't warn them about this, but we are going to do one last thing with the students here. So I'm going to get all of them to come join around the camera. Now, at Cali here, we do something called our ENN cheer. So we are going to, on the count of 3, do our ENN cheer together to wrap up this event. Yeah, come on in, come on in. Scooch, scooch. You guys all in? All right. So on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1. Hands up for habitat! Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at our next Live from COP. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.